How has 2020 accelerated a new era of gaming in LatAm?
Good afternoon, everybody, and good afternoon from Malta. We're in the middle of the Mediterranean here, but today we'll be hosting, part of SiGMA Americas, Latin America, so the other side of the world completely. And we have a fantastic lineup here. And I must say, just the jokes aside, they all sound like fantastic football players. So we have Juan Barrachina, Eddie Morales, and Pedro, Angelo, Sousa. Those always sound, fantastic names, guys. So, Latin America, vibrant culture, colorful cities, dynamic people, dynamic businesses. I would say Latin America's acceleration in this industry, right, in the gaming industry is unique, fascinating, and the development phase has lasted, maybe a bit more than other markets. But now, as we're also talking about today, it's all about the acceleration in this market. Maybe I can start with you, Juan. What are the main drivers that are really increasing this acceleration? So what's the trust? What's happening? What's the state of the union here?
Good afternoon from Paraguay. I'm in Asunción. I'm from Spain, but I've been living in South America since 2014. And I've been traveling all around South America countries. And what I can say now is that due to the COVID crisis, there is a big pressure, on the regulators to start, regulating the online gaming business here in all the countries, I will say. That we had a very good experience in Colombia, where the market was regulated 2-3 years ago, and we have more than 17 companies doing, I will say, a very good business. So what I will say now is that due to the COVID crisis, everything has changed, and now the regulators, the casino property owners, even the gray or illegal online operators, and doing their best, to start operating in a regulated way.
Yeah.
Now is the time of a big change for everybody.
Yeah. Actually, Juan, you've hit a lot of major points here, and probably we'll go through them one by one. But maybe I can hear also from Eddie. Eddie, the state of the union from, your side of the world.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eddie Morales. I'm actually based out of Spain, although I've been traveling LatAm for a few years, intermittent times. Currently working for Games.tv, which is a live games provider. So I've been able to touch the reality, especially last year when everybody was still allowed to travel. And I must say that I agree a lot with Juan. I think the COVID has been a last wake-up call to the acceleration of the industry in Latin America on both levels, the multi-channel approach, as well as the regulation of certain territories that were taking their time. Obviously, this situation has accelerated the minds of and the consciences of governments to make a push to rescue, especially the retail industry, side of the industry, and also to allow players to keep on playing from their homes or from any location available. This is the key aspect, regulation, in my opinion, as Juan mentioned.
Yeah.
And Colombia is the pioneer, and hopefully other countries will follow.
Of course. Thank you for that, Eddie. And Pedro, state of the union from your end, and then we'll start, going deeper into all the main points which you're mentioning.
COVID-19 hit us all in Latin America in different ways, but a unifying format has hit us is in, as you said, the acceleration of the market. It has hampered different people, I'd say. The current administration of Brazil has shown themselves to be kind of lenient in terms of regulating gaming. We are a state that's typically outlawed in terms of online gaming and gaming in most forms, instead of most forms, I say, save for state sanctioned stuff, things that they can get money from normally. But not only even before COVID, it was more on the promise side and not exactly a lot on the delivery side. And there hasn't been exactly a lot of pressure on our administration to actually make moves in terms of additional regulations. Mostly we have been dealing with the public health debacle, and it doesn't seem like it will change in at least a few months, but we can always hope.
Yeah. So you all mentioned COVID. Yes, we're all living in this, although I hate to say it, the new normal about all this. And I know it's been used and over abused, but when you're talking in business, you're talking about the brutal truths, right? And COVID is a brutal truth. So if I had to ask you, so what are your operations looking like in this new normal? Keeping in mind that you need to keep optimum customer service, keeping in mind responsible gaming scenarios within also the COVID scenarios. How do you see this? Maybe Eddie, and then I move on to Juan on this. Always from the Latin American perspective.
Basically, but Games TVS is a game supplier. We don't deal directly with the end user. We provide games to aggregators, platforms, or operators. And basically, in terms of safety measures, if this is what you're referring, what practices we put in place, it's basically coming out of the studios. Apart from the safe environment of working from home, we put some protocols on the studios for safety and the access and the exiting of people, as well as creating different teams that don't mix with each other. So basically, if the A team of croupiers that we have has detected any infection, then the B team starts operating from the studios. Fortunately, we didn't have much of an incidence of the virus in Lithuania, which is where our studios are located, compared to other countries. So we've been so far so good, safe in terms of safety and infection. In this term, I cannot mention what is the effect on the final user in terms of measures that we impose, because this is more on the operator side.
Yeah. Juan, your take on this, the new normal, and has it been a learning experience for you? Working maybe in a different environment, in different scenarios with new protocols. How agile were you also maybe as Kambi in all this scenario?
I mean, I think all of you know that we have several offices worldwide. We have to close all the offices. I think now only the office in Manila is back, normal back, and it was a learning experience for everybody. Now we are working from home. I mean, I think some people is happy. I'm not happy because I can't fly anymore. I mean, maybe I will not be able to fly until next year, March or April. But it was a big surprise for everybody, because we are working from home. We are having our daily, calls with the London office, the Stockholm office, Nothing has changed, We are running a very, very good business since the football is back again, It was a big surprise for us, I will say that June, July have been maybe the best months, in the last year. And we didn't have a World Cup, we didn't have the Euro Cup, we didn't have the America's Cup. Of course, we suffer a lot during March, April. No one knew about what's going on. But now, I will say, we are saving a lot of money because we are not traveling. We are not spending money in hotels. In meetings with our prospects, operators, and let's see what is going to happen in the next quarter. But so far, Kambi now is in a really good position because we have been working the last 3-4 years on, seeding up all the opportunities worldwide.
Yeah. Juan, okay, you said that you're not traveling, and I think we all miss it, right? Because the iGaming sector and the gaming sector in general is it's a business built on networking, on building relationships, the human contact, and all this, which we all miss, and even for the employees themselves. I mean, we experienced this in Malta also. That especially young employees miss actually being at the office rather than working from home. But I want to also discuss. Look, there's a post-COVID world, right? And we need to look ahead. And I think this is vital. We need to continue working towards, yes, adapt ourselves to a new normal. But today I want to hear about Latin America and how you see it in a post-COVID world. You mentioned about legislation, regulatory frameworks, how it has all accelerated growth. So a very direct question, and I want all of you to answer this themselves. So how do you look for, or rather, how would you look for opportunities in the sector? We're in Malta here, so we're European jurisdiction. What should European operators look at when they're looking at the Latin American markets? Pedro, maybe you want to start off with that.
Oh, sure. Well, I can speak more particularly when it comes to my market. A very specific opportunity that everyone should know about the Brazilian market, and to some extent the Latin American market in general. There is a wide a wide need to subvert expectations. Latin America as a whole is a region that has been underestimated throughout history. Years and years and years have passed, and everyone treats us like we're countries that are forever in development. A lot of people don't treat us as seriously as others, and that not only in business but in people. People feel that way. So when you formulate your system, give people opportunities to prove themselves, or give them the illusion of proving themselves, outsmarting a system, outsmarting a player. Give them this way that they can this is escape valve for this inner frustration that people have from being underestimated throughout history. And post-COVID, it's going to be a wellspring that you can still tap into, because everything has been sitting still for a lot longer. And we feel a lot really resentful about how slowly we're taking compared to the rest of the world. So maybe tap into that. A system that is based upon giving a Brazilian customer or a Latin American customer the opportunity to express, to feel recognition, respect, and the opportunity to assert themselves, I'd say, is the three main things that you can take advantage of.
Eddie, Pedro here has made some very clear statements, right? So basically saying, hey, you've nearly, we nearly were overlooking up to a certain extent the Latin American. We didn't take it seriously, etc. Your learnings in this and your insights, maybe you can share with us about this.
I think that Pedro's reasoning is right. We were not taking seriously. Maybe I will change the expression by saying we weren't taking it into the correct path of consideration. Basically, I think every company has tried to take Latin America seriously for a long time. The thing is that it hasn't been probably approached the right way in the right moment. And a lot of this has to deal with the regulation of the different markets. That's why I say post-COVID approach, it will differ from market to market. Although you should take a global approach and act locally, I think that's the right strategy. I mean, it will be different when you approach Peru or Colombia or Argentina or Mexico or Brazil, for example. Each country has a different post-COVID reality and a scenario in terms of the operators that are active or not active on retail or online. I think retail has a lot of weight in this mentality or approach to the market, openness to new solutions. and it has to be approached differently from country to country. I think Colombia is the ideal path, especially for operators now that have a live casino solution that has recently been regulated. And for me, that's obviously for my company, for Games TVS, is a new entrance way into a new market. So that's the path I'm following. But obviously, when Argentina finally opens or Brazil finally opens with the regulation, will mean a different thing. Brazil, I think, will open a whole new domino effect for the whole continent, and that's when everybody will enter.
Yeah. So we're talking about different cultures here, basically, and how to adapt it. And Pedro, I know you wanted to say something, right? Because you were.
I don't know. I was basically just agreeing.
Yeah.
Oh, I do have something else to add. Esports. That's a big
Hold on,
aspect
we'll
of
talk
the
about
emerging market.
We'll talk about that. It's one of my favorite subjects also. Juan, so we need to learn about this, right? So we need to learn in adapting sort of our products also to the Latin American players, okay? If I had to get an insight from you, and also from your vast experience, how does the mindset of the players, Latin American players, is significantly different to other countries, to maybe other European countries, what insights can you share on that?
I mean, to be honest, the player has, the same mindset that the European ones. I mean, they love sports, they love football. I think in South America, we are lucky, because the punters, the players can bet on the European football during the morning, then they can bet on South American football during the afternoon, and then they can bet on NBA or American sports during the evening or during the night. So we can say that we have at least 18 hours of sports, that you can place a bet on. Regarding casino, for me was a big surprise here in Paraguay, where Apostala, which is the market leader, they are acting as a monopoly in the sports betting business. They add the casino portfolio content in their website, and it was like a big explosion, more than 3,000, 4,000 daily active punters starting spending a lot of money in roulette, in slots, in blackjack. So I will say that the player is almost the same that in Europe. What I want to point out is, and I agree with Pedro, is that maybe this can sound very brutal. European operators don't respect South America. They maybe excluding Sporting Bet, maybe Poker Stars, we can say that they don't care about South America. Now they are caring because they are suffering a lot in Europe. They are facing a new regulation. They are facing more taxes. They are facing more competition, and they want to open new markets. But in my opinion, some of them are really, really late to come here. And if they come here, what they have to do is to go to Brazil, to go to Peru, to go to Colombia, to go to Argentina, and to meet with the local kings. The local king can be a casino retail owner. It can be a lottery operator. It can be a gray, young online entrepreneur that has been developing the e-gaming business or the e-sport business for the last 2, 3, 4 years. So I agree with Pedro. I agree with Eddie. I mean, South America is different, several countries, several cultures, but the player is the same that in Europe. Young guy, maybe in the 30s, that they want to place bets on sports, on football, or they want to play a roulette game.
So taking all this, and maybe I'll include Eddie here. Eddie, so what mistakes can operators avoid, right? Due also to their lack of knowledge, maybe, of the Latin culture and consumer behaviors. Your insights there.
Yes, I think the generalization is the first mistake. I think it's like a lost in translation generalization mistake. This is not a mass of people sharing the common language that just like football. The approach to the final end user, it's one mistake. And I think the clear examples were exposed by Juan. I mean, yeah, they love sports, but they have their own sports in different countries. It must be a country-by-country approach. Also, not only on the offering, but also on the promotion style, as well as the media that is used to communicate. This is a common mistake made by many companies, that maybe they thought it's just a question of plunging a whole lot of money into a pay-per-view football channel and just do branding without going into the streets, without going into the land-based businesses, obviously, where this is allowed. I think this is the first and most important mistake. And secondly, you have to take into account a lot of these countries have a trust mentality on the brands that they have seen and that they know. So it's something that it doesn't build from night to day. This takes time. This takes a trust building relationship that maybe can be overcome by partnering with a local partner, with a local brand, with a local business. This is not something you can build that easy from scratch, because this is not a market that has been born out of digital all of a sudden in Latin America. This has come from the streets mostly, and from cash using. So
you can, yes, in fact, you said it's not new. I mean, it's basically, it has been a slow burner, right? It's been a slow burner, and now with, it's been then leading to a sum of all the parts, whereby now, as you're saying, European operators are looking into the Latin American for all the reasons which we mentioned. Esports.
Yes. They were right.
Yes, sorry, Juan.
Yeah, I mean, but some markets are boiling now. Are boiling, so.
Yes, that's it. So Latin America is burning with opportunities right now, as we would say. And such, which will lead us into esports, Pedro. Here in Malta, we're also investing in the esports sector. We've just launched, we've just announced a multi-year agreement with ESL. The ESL Pro League seasons will be held in Malta and virtually this year, obviously because of COVID, and 2021. Hopefully it will be physically, including also, the whole seasons here, which is a big thing. But a lesson is we've seen the opportunity here when it comes, when it comes to esports. It was nearly low-hanging fruit for us. Your experience on this, Pedro?
So basically, when it comes to esports, we are at a big advantage because esports has never really stopped, and we have at least present very, very, very well-established players in Brazil and in Latin America, in the form of Riot Games, in the form of Epic, which have been able to continue with their activities. And there has been no real uncertainty. It is an activity that can be executed from the distance. It does not really depend on events. It does not really depend on in-person tournaments. It's good to have in-person events. Don't get me wrong, I love them, but it's not dependent on them. So in these uncertain times, it's a little bit more dependable. But one place where esports are an ace in the hole for a lot of people is that any market that wants to remain, wants to have longevity, needs to keep bringing in new people. And millennials and Gen Z are excited about esports, in a way that they are not that excited about traditional sports. They understand the digital world a little bit more. They understand digital sports a little bit more. They know what they like, and they know how those things work a little bit. They're a little bit more familiar with that world, which gives them more confidence and which leads them into our side of gaming with a little bit more excitement. And when you have a public like that is interested in gaming and it's interested in esports, you can build a movement, you can build pressure on governments and regulating bodies to ease up a little bit and make our activities easier and more flexible.
Yeah. Eddie, your take on esports and the opportunities, maybe from your area?
Yes, thank you, Ivan. I see similarities in terms of the audience shift that we experience in a way, thanks to COVID. I mean, our products, which are, let's say, a hybrid between a live casino and a sports betting product, have benefit in a way from the absence of sports events during COVID. I mean, I must say that pretty much 80% of the players that use bet games, live games played by a croupier with fixed odds betting options, come from sports betting, not from casino. I mean, this is curious. You might think our themed games look more like casino, but actually the cross-selling of players comes mostly from sports betting players. Why so? Why we think this is happening? Because our games have the same mechanics like fixed odds betting. They are very quick. We have draws every 3 minutes. They are non-stop. You can have events continuously. It's a low risk, low reward type of games. So the player doesn't need to bet a lot to get a reward. And at the end of the line, you don't need to be an expert playing poker. You don't need to know the game of poker. You need to know complicated games. And actually, most of the access to our games come through mobile. So we are basically taking into a very young audience market that comes from sports. So I see this kind of millennial follow-up mentality that like to play quick, easy games that are very multimedia based. And that basically you don't need to have a huge knowledge of the traditional games. You just play like a video game, essentially.
You know, and you know, thank you, Eddie, because this comes to the next point, and we'll wrap up because I know we're pressed for time here. Juan, the mobile revolution has been touched by Eddie here. You know, so entertainment is in our hands. Entertainment is on our mobile. How does, and when I did the research about this panel also, and it came up very, very often, the mobile revolution, they called it in Latin America, and how this is. So if we can close on this, Juan, your take on the mobile revolution.
I will say that the mobile revolution is already here, you know. As Pedro said, we have to respect, you know, this region, and people love the mobile phone. They use the social media. They have big WhatsApp groups where they share a lot of things. They even pay by using the mobile phone with the local operators' wallets. So what I have to say is, in Paraguay, 7 million people, poor country, everybody has a mobile phone. Everybody has an account in Instagram, in Facebook. Everybody has maybe 10, 15 WhatsApp groups. And people is using, I will say, 80% of the times the mobile phone to place bets.
Yep.
So what I have to say to the European operators is, mobile phone is already here. You know, betting by using this device is 80% of the total turnover, even here in Paraguay. And what is really important, they use the mobile phone in order to fund the online accounts.
Yeah.
So what I have to say to the European operators is, I mean, people here is doing the same things that people is doing in Europe, in the United States. Maybe they have a lower income in a monthly basis, but it's the same.
Yeah. Okay, Juan, Eddie, Pedro, I mean, we could talk about this. I mean, it deserves maybe also another panel. And hopefully next year we'll all be traveling to you guys, you know, and you know, we can meet up. Yeah. Fingers crossed on that, because there's a lot to learn. The cultures are beautiful, as I said in the beginning, you know, vibrant cultures, dynamic businesses, and you know, all the passion. You know, as much as, you know, we see that also coming from a, you know, Mediterranean country. You know, there's a lot which we can team up and which we can actually bridge on that. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening to us during this panel for SiGMA Americas. Thank you.